So the Los Angeles Lakers have seemed to turn it around. I mean, granted, we played Detroit and San Antonio. We got a big test against the Phoenix Suns, so that'll be interesting. But Anthony Davis has been an absolute monster, playing like a top 3 player in the league. I mean, he has been just absolutely incredible. If he can continue this level of play, not just that, but a lot of the other Lakers have really stepped up. Notably, like Austin Reeves has really taken over. Walker has been fantastic for us all year. You got Troy Brown who's been consistent. Thomas Bryant, he's came back from injury and immediately off to the races and just been a solid rotation guy. And many others, even Kendrick Nunn, starting to wake up a little bit here. And the hope and the optimism is that the Lakers are going to be able to turn it around. We got an easy stretch out here outside of, the Suns game. Got Spurs twice, which we just beat them by 31 points. We should be able to beat them 2 more times. And then we got a couple other easy schedules. And then in December, it kind of becomes a gauntlet. And hopefully we can get right enough to, once we get into that gauntlet, be good enough. And also, there's always the possibility of a trade. But if Anthony Davis is playing to this level, he can stay healthy. LeBron James comes in and LeBron James be LeBron James and kind of fit within the offense. Hopefully he sees what this team is capable of now that he's been sidelined, kind of can come in and kind of, be that piece that just takes us to the next level, which I really hope we can. But there's a lot of concerns of if the Lakers aren't good enough this year, what happens, right? The Lakers, they're going to end up losing their draft pick to the Pelicans, right? So we have to be better than the Pelicans is how the view is on the outside. It's like, hey, we cannot lose our pick to the Pelicans. Whatever it is, we have to be better than the Pelicans. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bad, sort of black eye to the Lakers organization. Although I still don't really buy that. I mean, we won an NBA championship, but there's a lot of growing concern that if we continue to be this bad, then what happens if the Pelicans end up landing Victor Wembanyama? And even the Lakers are scared of the Pels pick swap, right? Lakers scared of Pels pick swap. Mark Stein reports there is palpable fear within the organization over landing Wembanyama for the Pelicans, which Wembanyama seems to be a generational guy. Like, he seems to be like the next big face of the league, big game changer. If you've watched him play, he's incredible. He might be arguably the best prospect we have ever seen. And I mean, seriously, he's just that talented, that good. Teams are tanking for the bottom in order to get Victor Wembanyama, and whoever lands that prize is going to be absolutely incredible. And you look at a Pelicans team, and you think, man, they could end up having Zion Williamson and Victor Wembanyama for the next 10 years. Good luck. You could be looking at the next dynasty. Still have Brandon Ingram, still have CJ McCollum for the next couple years. The Pelicans could be the next, dynasty, Warriors level, Kevin Durant maybe even, if Victor becomes that level. And so there is this growing fear, and it is something to worry about. Now, personally, I don't think the Lakers could worry about it. Look, if it happens, it happens, right? Would it suck? Sure. Would I be, pulling my hair out as many Lakers Nation would be? Sure. But here's the thing. There's never a guarantee, and championships are so incredibly hard. We got the championship. We traded, we made the trade, whatever it took. We made the deal, and we ended up with an NBA championship. And it is very hard in this league. There are still teams in this league that have never even been to an NBA Finals, let alone a championship. I mean, look at Phoenix Suns, for example. They've never won an NBA championship. And think of how many great historic teams there have been. Utah, Memphis has had some really great teams over the year. They've been to one Western Conference Finals, right? Stuff like that. You have teams like the Clippers, right? Again, one Western Conference Finals. That's a team that never even been in the NBA Finals. And they were arguably the best team for several years, with the Lob City stuff. Never were able to make it. It is so hard to win in this league. There's so many talented players, so many talented teams. You got to not only have the right ingredients, the right situation, the right organization. There are a lot of things that go into it. Victor Wembanyama, there's still a lot of concerns with Victor Wembanyama, right? His frail frame, injury for his size is a very common thing. You never know what the outcome's going to be. Knock on wood. I hope Victor Wembanyama wins 10 championships. I love to see success for these players, and it's just incredible the talent pool that the world is bringing in. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantee. The Pelicans could land Victor Wembanyama, have Victor, Zion, Brandon Ingram for the next 7 to 10 years, and still never win a championship. Victor Wembanyama might be the best player in the league, and still might not win a championship. It happens. It happens a lot. I mean, look at Giannis. Giannis has been arguably the best player for the last several years. He's won one championship. I mean, there's lots of greats in this league that have never won championships. Lots of great teams in this league that have never won championships. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. So I don't think is it something that is, a bit concerning? Is it something that's like that would suck? Absolutely. Like, would the memes and the running jokes come out? Of course they would. But at the end of the day, there's no guarantee. I mean, the Lakers could end up winning another championship before the Pelicans do. You never know, especially in this league, in LA being a big market. Who's to say Zion wants to stay? No, what if you get Victor Wembanyama and then 3 years into it, everyone ends up leaving, and now you're rebuilding around Victor Wembanyama. You never know what the outcome and the result through it all at the end is. And Victor Wembanyama, as great as he looks, like, will it translate to the NBA? Will he be able to be the next great NBA player, the next great, dynasty leader? It's another real question. Now, do the Lakers want to be bad? Of course not. And hopefully they turn it around. Like, the Pelicans are a solid team, but they don't look like, world beaters right now. I don't think the Pelicans are a legit contender. I think they're good. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think, they might be able to surprise the right team, but I still don't think that they're a team ready and primed to go win a championship or anything like that. Could Victor Wembanyama change that? Very possible. Very possible. I mean, we've seen guys like Magic win a championship, finals MVP, rookie year, like stuff like that. So you never know. You never know what tides could turn. And it is a tough spot for the Lakers to be in, right? Because you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You never would have thought that we would be in this position when you have those two, especially just winning a championship. But that also goes into the fear of trading the picks, right? A lot of people are F them picks, trade the 27, 29 pick. Like, that is a understandable logic, right? You got LeBron James, do what you need to do now. But you can't just trade it to make a trade, right? We gave up everything to go get Anthony Davis. Yes, we won an NBA championship, but look what happened 3 years later, right? 3 years later, we're one of the worst teams in the league that are starting to look like we're turning it around, but there's still no guarantee. We'll see how this all plays out. And now the Pelicans might end up landing Victor Wembanyama, and they could be in an NBA dynasty. You never know what the result is going to be. So that's why I've always said I don't mind Rob Pelinka staying patient. I don't mind him waiting and looking for the right deal. Whatever that right deal is, if it materializes, I believe he'll do it. But if it doesn't, then I don't think he will, because you don't want to end up being in a bigger position. Let's say we trade those picks and the Pelicans still get Victor Wembanyama. We're still terrible, right? Or they're still better. They end up landing with Victor Wembanyama. We just traded all our assets. We're terrible, and now we're stuck with this team for the next, 2-3 years, whatever. It could be a lot worse. It's better to be bad 1 year than several years. If the Pelicans land Victor, they land Victor. It sucks, especially if he turns out to be as great as he's projected to turn out to be. If he does, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow. Having to watch Victor just take over the league, and it's like, man, the Lakers basically just gave the Pelicans him. But you'll never know until later on down the road, right? 5 years from now, if the Pelicans get Victor Wembanyama and they win a championship, then yeah, you kind of look at it and go, oh, that's tough. But you traded one championship for another, right? Okay, but now if they win 2, 3, 4, it's like, oh, damn, that kind of sucks. But still, at the end of the day, you still got that championship, right? What were your other options? Not trade Anthony Davis, keep this pick. Maybe you would have gotten Victor Wembanyama or not, but you would have been terrible for the last, 10 years. At that point, because we wouldn't have won a championship. LeBron, who knows what happens with him, all that stuff. It's just, there's always those big major what ifs. There's always those oh, if this would have happened, or you hear the stories of Charles Barkley was almost traded it's man, what would happen? Would Charles Barkley have gotten an NBA championship? Things like that. There's always going to be those questions, always going to be those mysteries, always going to be those things. But I just think you have to let things unfold the way that they unfold. You can't compromise everything just to say, oh, well, we don't want the Pelicans to get Victor Wembanyama, right? You don't want to just, jeopardize your future just to prevent somebody from getting a prospect that may or may not, be a dynasty leader. Maybe he's great. Look, he could be great and still never win a championship. There were a ton of great players, top 75 players, top 20 players that have never won a championship. And I mean, look at guys like James Harden. James Harden is arguably one of the best scorers we've ever seen in this game. He's never won a championship. He's never even been close. So it's like, you never know what the result will be. The Lakers, obviously, again, if they could find a proper deal, a proper trade, then I believe, they'll make the deal. Like if the right offer, or if they see something that they believe is like the missing link, the missing piece, I do think they'll make the trade. I think they will make the deal. Just like Rob Pelinka said, he's got one shot at this. That's it. He's got one opportunity. He doesn't, he has to play it right. He has to play it safe. He can't risk everything to be terrible for the next 4 years and, 5 years. And it's like, and you don't even have your assets to go and rebuild. I mean, you could be set back the next 7 to 10 years. We saw what we looked like before LeBron James, and a lot of people wish, I wish they would have kept Ingram, or I wish they would have kept this or that. Like, who are those players are leading their teams to legit championships, or, barely the playoffs? Like last season, everybody was either that were Lakers, all the young Laker guys were all either just play-in teams or didn't make the playoffs at all. Like now this year, like Kyle Kuzma looks great, but he's like the first or second option on that team. Like, would he be scoring 28 a game for us? Probably not. Would he be solid? Would I want Kyle Kuzma? Absolutely. Do I wish we would have kept Kyle Kuzma? Of course, absolutely. Brandon Ingram likely wouldn't have fit with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? Especially with the style of play and the way he is and development and stuff, all that stuff. And again, at the end of the day, we still won a championship. We still got a championship by doing that trade, by doing that deal. There was no guarantee. We could have kept all of those guys and been in the same spot we're in right now and never have won a championship. Who's to say any of those guys will ever turn into a great team? Like, and who knows if they would have all, been able to build and have that chemistry together, right? I mean, like Julius Randle is now like, he's mediocre and on a bad contract. He has good games, but for the most part, he's just kind of average, right? He's not bad. He's not good. He's not, or not great. Like, he's just he's a good player. He's a solid player, but he's not worth his contract. Ingram, we'll see. We'll see if he can make the next step, right? He's a solid guy. He's, all-star level, but he's not like a transcending player. He's not a guy that looks so far to be the best team on a championship contender. Like, that's just, he doesn't look to be that. Kuzma's great, but he's not a 1 or 2 option on a championship contender. Josh Hart is a role player. Lonzo Ball can't stay healthy. D'Angelo Russell has been, a journeyman as of late. Like, none of those guys were so great. It was like, man, like we had to keep those guys. You got literally a franchise guy and Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is better than all those guys. And he's shown it the last few games. But I don't know. It's an interesting point. It's an interesting conversation. That's why I wanted to bring it up and hear your thoughts. Do you feel like part of the incentive for the Lakers to make a trade is to make sure that the Pelicans don't get Victor Wembanyama? Just don't be a bottom feeding team, which I don't think we will be. I really don't. Like, we're better, and you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to start tanking for the bottom come the trade deadline. So I just think even if the Lakers continue to be terrible, we're still not going to be a bottom 5 team. We're just not. You got a lot of really bad teams out there, and you got a lot of teams that are just going to embrace the tank as they get further into the season. So I don't have a concern that they're going to land Victor Wembanyama. Could the 0.001% chance that the Pelicans land him happen? Sure. But realistically, if that happens, that was just destiny, right? That was just fate just taking over and allowing itself to make that happen. But in reality, they're not going to be bad enough to where the Pelicans are going to land Victor Wembanyama. So I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a concern. We're good enough to where we're gonna win enough games to not be that bad. But anyway, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions. However you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere in between. Let me know down in the comment section below.